Okay, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where you are. I want us to go through something very important. I already uploaded these notes on Moodle, but I want us to fully understand them so that we are on the same page. I want to ensure that the way how I perceive DBs is the same way how you do. For that matter, in case there is anything that is uploaded, anything that I have explained that you cannot articulate to the levels of a master in that particular area, please ensure that you raise it. You can raise it through comments on Moodle for easy follow up and response. So today we are going to be looking at what we call the relational databases, but we are going to give our focus on a language that is popular both in academics as well as in the industry, so that by the time you graduate, you are able to go and associate with the colleagues in various sectors, but when they are dealing with a language that you are also familiar with. Otherwise, it is not the only language that can be used, but I want us to focus on what is popularly being used in field for easy for easy uh, adoption. So now, SQL is a standard language for storing, manipulating, and retrieval of data from the databases. Yeah. So, uh, on this point, allow me to add a pen here so that we are able to follow in a better way. Okay. Yeah. So, it is basically a structured query language. The way how you remember, I told you that database does not mean only the digital content, but even having your shopping list on paper, it is also what? A database. Even having something in your mind that you are thinking about, it is also a database, because so long as you are thinking about, or you have written down related data about something, for example, if it is a shopping list, obviously these are what requirements for your own use, and they are basically related. You cannot talk about maybe buying oxygen or something that is not related to something that you have specified. Therefore, uh, a structured way was agreed upon, obviously, by a body called ISO, which is the International Organization for Standardization. And they came up with a language that can structure, that can guide the development, can guide the storage, retrieval, and editing of our information digitally. So that is where the emergence of SQL originated from. So this is a structured query language, and will enable us to access, manipulate, as well as retrieving content from our DBs. So let me add this. Let me add. Okay. Now SQL became a standard of course, ANSI, and also for ISO. These are just for your knowledge. Now, what can this particular language do? But these ones going to be a little bit faster, but like I have stressed, the moment you don't get something well, please add a comment on Moodle. I will be in position to do what? To respond to it. Even where necessary, I will go ahead and record a clip specifically for that particular what? Question. But also, you can send an email. You can even share a WhatsApp what? A chat. Anything that is what? That is important. But for purposes of proper record keeping, it will be nice that you do this via model so that I'm able to react. And whenever I react or via model, you're not the only person who benefits, but the rest of the class will also do what? Benefit from your what? From your query. So these are some of the uh, points that makes SQL a powerful language to adopt when it comes to what? Dealing with databases. Now, this can help us to execute queries against a database. And every time there is a need to fetch, to retrieve, and call for some data from the database, SQL plays a very, very nice role in this case. So, and if a user is so much interested in entering details into the DB, then I would recommend that you adopt what? SQL. Very good example I can give is you see the NIRA what? The NIRA database, these people that we go to at NIRA offices and then we give our information. These data entrants are basically interacting with the DB, but at the interface or front end side, whereby they are now performing the insertion task. So for them, they are basically dealing with the insert. But now this insert, you see here, has a command, has a statement that powers it to act and make it a meaningful what? Action at the back of the what? Of the data base. Yeah. As we shall be, of course, writing all these statements. Now, SQL can also be good when it comes to updating records. When I talk about updating records, meaning that we can as well make changes in the already existing what data. And whenever you talk about the word records in DB, we are basically referring to rows, in tables, as we shall of course be seeing in our next video. And this can also be so good when it comes to like doing away with some info from your DB. That means you can delete some records. Then you can also create new databases using SQL, using the SQL statements. Then you can also create tables. Like the moment you are dealing with the relational databases, the moment you create a database, the next thing will be creating tables, because with the relational databases, it is basically like content being stored in the form of tables. And when we talk about tables, we are basically referring to columns, the way how you see these vertical ones. These are what? These are columns. Then these ones that cross through horizontally are the what? Are our rows. You get. So now these end up making or forming what we call a what? A table. So I can also okay, we shall be looking at this in the next clip, showing you practically how this is done. Now, this language can also be used whenever we need some uh, creation of stored procedures in our databases, even when it comes to creating views, even when it comes to setting limitations. And these are basically called or referred to as roles and privileges in databases. When we talk about a role, we can have a database for hospital where we can have different roles, because you see hospital is an entity, but it has different users. What a doctor can see is not what maybe a receptionist or a front office person or even a cashier should see. Because now you see hospital deals with sensitive what? Sensitive info about patients. Now there is no need of exposing this information to each and every user of this particular what? System or database within the hospital. So for that matter, we can simplify the life by adding what we call roles and privileges. So sometimes we can even now go ahead and tie privileges to roles, whereby the moment the user enters their username and password, and this particular user has certain roles, I mean, is of a given role. For example, doctor is the one who has logged in. Then it is only and only the permissions tied to this role that will be shown to this particular user. And when a front office person comes in and logs in, they will only and only be limited to what they are supposed to see. So those are roles and privileges. Yeah. Um, yes, indeed, SQL is a standard, but of course, there are different versions of SQL language. But what you have to note is that all these different versions have what we call, or they actually support all, or at least the major SQL what commands, regardless of which version are you using. Trust me, the moment you issue a statement like a select all from, then you specify the table name where you want to select this info from, then it will obviously return for you that particular data in or from that particular table. When you want to update, when you want to delete, insert, and also specify where you want to make some action, these are always standard, or they cut across regardless of the version. Yeah. And yes, this talks about using SQL in your website. So to build a website that shows data from a database, you will need, of course, the relational database management system, like the SQL server. This one, we are going to do it practically in our next video. Yeah, so that I take you through how we can do this. If you don't do this, you can also actually install others. Yeah, I know you might be. I'm saying you. I'm using the word might. I have no evidence, but given the fact that you did DBMS, I expect that you have maybe dealt with this before. So for that matter, you may install WAMP, you can install XAMPP, you can install Access, SQL Server, MySQL. They can all do what? Support. Now, to use a server-side scripting language like PHP as well as ASP. So you may also need to use SQL to get the data that you want, and to use, of course, CSS, HTML, that is in case you want to beautify your what? Your website. These are some of the things that you do what you basically need, and we are going to be handling these. So, these relation database management systems, or the RDBMS, is the basis for SQL and for all modern database systems like the Microsoft SQL Server, talk about the IBMs, talk about the one for Microsoft Access, MySQL, and so on. So the data in the RDBMS is stored in database objects, which are usually what? Tables. And when you talk about a table in a DB, is basically a collection of related what? Data entries, and it consists of both columns and what? Columns and rows, like I have described before. And look at this statement. It is actually, this is an example of a relational table where we have the various columns. We have a column for customer ID, column for customer name, column for contact name, talk about the address, talk about city, postal code, and country. All these are different what? columns within our table. And then, but what makes it to be a table is the intersection of our columns and what? And rows. These vertical ones are the columns, and then these horizontal ones are the what? Are the rows or records. And now, when we are dealing with the SQL, like I said, regardless of which version you're using, the moment you enter a statement like select all from customers, it will retrieve all the details, all the content within this particular table called what? Customers, as you can see down. Yeah, this asterisk symbol means all. Yeah, now the moment we choose select all from customers, that means it's going to return for us all the information in this particular table called what? Customers. You get, because like we have said, SQL is a language, a structured query language, meaning that the guys of ANSI as well as ISO sat down and came up with their own rules that govern this particular language. So you may not ask me as to why for them are using the asterisk symbol to represent the word all in English. That is a standard, something that you cannot change. Yeah. Now let us go deep into looking at this customer table. Now the columns in the customers table consist of course, all of them up to country, as you have seen, whereby a column is a vertical entity in a table, like we have said. And then when you talk about a record or a row, is the or horizontal one, and it comes with the each individual entry that exists in a what? In a table. You get. Look at this syntax or this rule. So SQL statements, most of the actions you need to perform on a database are done with SQL what? Statements. So they consist of keywords that are easy to do what? To understand. Yeah, for example, really the moment you say insert into, everyone at least gets to know that you need to enter something somewhere. You get. So the following SQL statement selects all records from the table named what? Customers. This statement called what? Select all from customers. You get. So it will select all. This is an English statement, not the language statement. That is why you see I used the word all, and instead of using what? The asterisk symbol. So this is the statement I was talking about, yeah, that will return for us all the details from this particular what? Table. And the database most often contains one or more what? Tables you get. And each table is identified by a name. Yeah, because you can have your DB, but which DB has different what? Tables. For example, we can have a DB for hospital, but within this particular DB, we have different tables, like a table for patients, table for doctors, table for maybe talk about appointments booking, table for billing. I mean, all these different maybe modules can have independent what? Tables, and which table, I mean, each table comes with maybe a unique identifier, as we shall be seeing. Okay. Uh, I'm a little bit faster because I assume that you have probably maybe gone through this, so you just needed some clarification. But like I said, the moment maybe there is something you need more clarity about, please always put it in the comment section. I will be able to do what? To respond and react on the matter. So the table that we have looked at contains 5 records. Now, meaning that it refers to rows, right? Yeah, the 5 records, and of course 7 what? 7 columns. No, no, no. Now, this was when I stressed this 5 records, I basically wanted to stop at what? Let me adjust on this. Let me adjust on this together with you so that you are able to understand what I'm talking about. Let us just crop this together. And no, 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 no. Let us crop. What is crop? Where is our crop? Yeah, here. Let us crop it up to number 5. Yeah, yeah. It has record 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good. Then we can be able to save these changes and then go back to this. Yeah. And then 7 columns, which has customer ID, which obviously is the primary key, customer name, the contact name. These are the different what? Different columns, yeah, for that particular what? Allow me to change the color for this. For is a visibility, yeah. I put it to red. Okay. How do we end SQL statements? Like usually it is recommended according to these guys of this particular language. Some database systems require a semicolon at the end of the what each SQL statement. I would recommend that you end all your statements, your SQL statements with that terminate. You terminate by adding what? A semicolon. You get, yeah? So semicolon is the standard way to separate each SQL statement in the DB systems. This will allow more than one SQL statements to be executed in the same call to the server. And look at this. This comes with the most common important SQL statements and commands that I would expect each one of us to do what? To oh, memorize and be in a position to do what? To work with. So, uh, just a second. Okay, I was still telling you about the various popular, popular what? SQL commands that each individual, if really you were to be a database a person, you need to have. We have the select command. What does select do? For it, it will extract data from your database. That is why you realize in the previous what slides, we're using it to return all the information from the table called what? Customers. Yeah, the moment you say select all from customers, it will extract that particular data from that particular database that you have done what? Oh, table that you have specified, you get. So whenever you say a command, you issue a command update, it will just update the data in the DB. Delete will obviously do as the name suggests, data from the database. Insert into is another popular uh, command that you cannot do away without so long as you're writing what? SQL statements. Create database, it will create a new one. Alter database, it will give you room to modify the contents of that particular DB. Then creating tables, it will create a new table. Alter table, it will obviously allow you to give and make changes. Drop table, that word drop, you have to be very careful as you work with it. The moment you issue a command drop table or drop database, it permanently deletes this particular table or database. That is why at at the management level, what we shall do is to tie this to some privileges so that not everyone who works with this particular database can go ahead and do what? Drop tables, you get. Then we can have create index that will obviously uh, simplify the search task for us. And then drop index, it will delete a particular what? Index. SQL select statement, what does select do? I have already talked about this. It is used to select data from a database. For example, the moment I say select customer name, comma, city from this particular table called customers, meaning that it is going to return only and only these specified columns, the data or the records from these two what? These two columns you see here. Because I didn't say select all. If I had said select all from customers, then it would return all the information within that particular what? A table. But now the moment I restrict it to only the specified columns, it will only pick out these two. And as you see, the table below returns only what? Only the two what? The two columns. Yeah. Um, allow me to first switch to somewhere where we can do this together. Discard. Let me first. Hoping you're still seeing my screen. So for this matter, let us launch one. Let us launch our database environment here. Let us launch it. Let us launch one. Our workbench, MySQL workbench. Okay, I'm going to take you through the installation of this so that people are able to understand how to go about it. Yeah. I'm hoping you're still viewing my screen, regardless of not being maybe live. But now, as you can see, down, I have this is MySQL Workbench. As you can see, is the official graph. It is its UI is GUI, you know, tool for MySQL. So it allows us to come up with the design and create and browse your database schemas, work with database objects, and even insert data as well as what? Design and run SQL queries to work with stored what? Content. So you can also migrate schemas and data from other what? The DB vendors to your MySQL DBs. Now, I have a database here called the UMU. I will click on it because usually I can have quite a number of them. So I just click on the plus and then I create a new one. You get, yeah. So, but for this matter, uh, no, let me cancel this. That is when I'm establishing a connection with maybe your WAMP, your XAMPP, depending on MySQL server, as we shall be, of course, going through practically. But now I have already created one here called the UMO, and it has opened, as you can see. And let's do it together. Let's do it together by maybe let us do this together and create some database and let us do this together. Allow me to first remove this and we do this together. The moment you say, like you have seen, create database like let me first specify the one that I want us to use. I come here to our schemas, as you are able to see, and then I come to, we can use this particular maybe hospital actually database, or we can actually even create a new what? Create a new DB. A second. Create our table. We give it a name. We are going to be working within this what? This database called the hospital. And now let us create a table for patients. A table called the patient. And now the moment you do this, then you can go ahead and specify the column that you want to be in your what? The columns that you want to be in your what? Your particular what? Table. Let's say maybe patient ID, patient ID, patient ID underscore, because you don't space, uh, patient ID. This can be auto increment, and it can even be our primary what? Our primary key. And I want to create all what I'm creating together with you as you're following. And we are going to be associating with a lot of errors, so that even when at your end you create a similar error, you get to know, okay, when this particular error happened, this is how we corrected it. So we shall be creating uh, various errors intentionally just for learning what? Learning purposes. And the patient ID, then we can create another one. We can create another one like a patient name, which is varchar, data type, varchar. We specify the length of patient name. Maybe we can put 50. Then we can create a patient contact, which is also varchar. Actually, we can call this int, data type int, 10. We expect the phone number to occupy 10 what? Spaces. Then what else can we, maybe we can stop at that for purposes of learning. Then we can do what? We can terminate. And then after termination, we can now come and execute. You get. Now, you see that you have an error in your SQL what? Syntax. And it goes ahead to do what? To specify, to talk about the error here. You get. So, who, anyway, you are not able to respond at this particular moment, but I would probably maybe ask, why do you think this particular error is basically doing what happening here, so that we are able to do it together. Yeah, when you look at this line of code, when the moment we specify create table, patient, and then we go ahead to specify the the columns that we need this particular table to have, where we have, for example, patient ID as one of the columns, patient name, as well as patient contact. But remember, each column you specify here must have a data type. The way how you have seen that I have given patient name a data type called varchar with its length, and as well as patient contact with the data type integer with the length, which is missing where? Here at what? At patient ID. So we can go ahead and also add one here. We can decide to make this to be maybe, actually I would prefer that we make it varchar so that our patient ID can have a combination of letters and what? Letters and characters and integers, a mixture. So we can go ahead and define this as maybe varchar what? We give it maybe 30, like that. Yeah. So, and then we proceed and do what? We execute. Now, the moment you execute this and you look at this line of the error down that it has done what? It has brought. Very good. Now you see here, the moment we specify the data type, varchar, and its length, then this is our primary key and so on, and then we run it. The moment we execute using this. So you sit down, it comes with a warning, create table this, and the warning it comes with, it's all about to let the user to know that, okay, the table that you are interacting with has a unique field, which is the primary key. You get. Otherwise, it has done what? It has executed. And now let's go together and we look at the output of this together. So for this matter, we shall say select all. We select all from our table name. Select all from patient and we terminate. Then the moment you terminate, come and do what? Execute. Now look here. I want us to look critically and get to know what is happening, where the issue is. I want to start with the only and only errors so that you get to know when you issue this, it comes with a certain error, and when this particular error comes, this is how you do what? You deal with it. So now, why this is very important and easy. Now you see, the moment you come, it even communicates, it tells you, you know, you just keep reading the error messages down. You will see it talks about table patient already exists, because for us, we didn't, like we did not basically run this particular line of code, but what we did was basically to run the entire script again. If we need, if for example, we remove this upper one, we remove it, and then we basically we run this particular script. Now you see that it passes, you get. Yeah, if you need to run only that particular line of command, for example, I put this back and then I want to run only this one. What you do, you come to this next executor. It executes the statement under this particular what? Line only, not the entire script. So you see that it has brought our table code what? Table code patient it comes with the patient ID, patient name, patient contact, and so on. You get that is our what? Our table. But all the fields are what? Still vacant. They are null. So now what we do, let us go and put or insert together some more details. For example, we can have what? Names of patients like what? Like who? Uh, okay. Let us use, let's assume we have some patients like maybe Davis, we can have Regan, Magezi, we can have Marion, we can have either Sissy, Mark, depending. Now let's go. We shall say insert into, because now we need to enter some details, some data into this particular table that we created. So we shall say insert into, then let me give you uh, two ways how you can insert this, but let's start with maybe the simple one. You get what we shall do is we say insert into, and then we can basically say values. Now, this means that for it is going to based on the structure of your table, and goes ahead to enter the values that you're going to do what? Be putting here. For example, we can have the first patient as maybe Magezi, but since Magezi, the data type is what? Is VACA, then we put it in what? In a quotes, eh? Yeah. Then we can have another one called like Magezi. And okay, Magezi's ID, we first put the ID because the first column is for what? For ID. So we shall say uh, patient 001. Then the name is what? Magezi. And then comma, we put the contact. But remember, our contact is data type is integer. So for integer, we don't put it in what? In the quotes, because they are numbers. Then we can close and then open for another patient details, because we said that we needed to do what? To put values. So, but we are going to look at this. And when we execute, you're going to see the beauty about this is even before you execute, but it is just already telling you that this is not a valid what? A valid one, because we have not specified the what? The name of a table. You get. Now, a database, the moment you say insert into, it is expecting that you specify the name of a table before you go and add values. So we say insert into patient, then we say values. Then we can come and put another patient details here. We can say maybe this is the patient 002. This guy is called Saddam. And then Saddam's contact is 0786756545. And then we close. We can also put another patient here, maybe Nico. We can use Nico. And Nico's patient ID is what? Is P003. And then we can say the patient name is called Nicholas. And then we can go ahead and put Nicholas is what? Nicholas is phone number, which can be 0752342337. and we close brackets. But like I said, we always end this with what? A termination. Yes. So the moment we do that, this time round, we are not going to run the entire script, but we shall only run this particular line. And the moment we run this, you see when it is already indicating. The moment you come here, you have an error in your SQL what? Syntax. You get. So I would really appreciate to have these sessions a little bit actually live so that maybe people can be able to uh, suggest what could be. Now, you see, the beauty about this is, you see, why I prefer working with MySQL Workbench. It is so user friendly because my target is to help those who cannot really code. I understand that we may have some individuals who may be good at coding, but I want to help these individuals who like from scratch so that they can also at least do something in coding when it comes to what databases. That is why I'm choosing this Microsoft, I mean this MySQL Workbench. It is so easy to work with. Look at this. By the time you actually even reach at the end, it is already underlining somewhere, meaning there is an issue somewhere. That is why it is putting this red what? Uh, dotted line with the annex at the start. And then you see that whatever we open, for example, now this bracket was opened here and it has not been what? Closed. You get. So meaning that we need to close our what? Close our bracket in this case. Then we come and execute only this particular line. Good. Now, you look here. It goes ahead to tell us that insert into this particular one, column count doesn't do what? Doesn't match. I don't know what you think. What could be the issue? I understand you can even just capture this, put maybe in any AI tool, it gives you the correct one. But I want us to do this in a manual way so that people can at least look at a code, they think about it, and maybe suggest. You get, so that we are able to come up with something that is thought about. You get. I don't want us to just run automatic cars without knowing even how to change gears. I'm assuming you are able to see the screen. Let me just confirm. Oh, sorry. People have not been seeing this. Wow. This is terrible. I cannot confirm where you may have stopped watching. Let me just see if I'm able to retrieve this and get to know where I should basically do what? Uh, Reshare. Let me first pause a bit and then it is hard. I cannot tell where you may have done what? You may have stopped. But I was trying to show you how we can run this and then have better what? Better output. Otherwise, second. Members, for purposes of sharing, I wasn't sure indeed. I have failed to trace where you may have stopped watching, but yet I wanted you to do what? Basically to watch all the proceedings better what? Follow-ups. Yeah. But let us just now look at the output of this and say select all from our table, which is what? Patients. And then we can do what? We can terminate. Now we just run this, only this particular line of code. And then the moment you run it from here with this word patients, yet we renamed our table as patient. You remember they are supposed to be singular. And now for you come here and add the word what? S. Now it will not actually be like it will try to look for available tables, but it cannot find this particular one because it doesn't what? Exist. And the moment you go ahead and remove this, and then you run this, then you see that it is able to do what? To retrieve for us all the details within this particular what? Particular table you get. That is it. And allow me to connect my, okay, let me connect a second.